Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Bridge Builder. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Bridge Builder begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Bridge Builder. Maria lived in the village of North Bank, on the north side of the wide Silver River. Her grandfather often told her stories about the old days when a beautiful stone bridge connected North Bank to South Shore, the village on the other side of the river. But that was before the war, 20 years ago. We used to cross that bridge every day, her grandfather would say sadly. The people of South Shore were our friends. We traded with them, celebrated festivals together, and our children played together. The war had started over a disagreement about water rights. Both villages needed the river water for their crops, and neither side would compromise. The conflict grew worse and worse until one terrible night, someone destroyed the bridge. No one knew which side had done it, but after that night, the two villages never spoke again. Now, 20 years later, the people of North Bank and South Shore still hated each other. Children were taught from a young age that the people on the other side of the river were their enemies. No boats crossed the river, no messages were sent, and the two villages lived as if the other didn't exist. Maria was 12 years old and curious about everything. She often sat by the river, looking at the broken pillars of the old bridge that still stood in the water. She wondered what the children in South Shore were like. Were they really as mean and terrible as everyone said? One warm summer day, Maria was exploring along the riverbank when she found something unusual. Hidden behind some large rocks was an old wooden boat. It was small and needed some repairs, but it could still float. Maria's heart beat fast with excitement. With this boat, she could cross the river. She knew it was forbidden, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. After checking that no one was watching, Maria climbed into the boat and used a long stick to push herself across the river. The current was gentle, and soon she reached the other side. The South Bank looked exactly like the North Bank. The same trees, the same flowers, the same birds singing. Maria tied the boat to a tree and walked carefully through the forest. She had only gone a short distance when she heard someone crying. Following the sound, Maria found a boy about her age sitting on a rock. He had hurt his ankle and couldn't walk. When he saw Maria, His eyes grew wide with fear. "You're from North Bank," he said. "You're my enemy." Maria was scared too, but the boy looked so helpless that she felt sorry for him. "I'm not your enemy," she said quietly. "I'm just a girl. What's your name?" The boy looked suspicious, but after a moment, he said, "I'm Carlos. My ankle hurts. I think I twisted it when I fell." Maria knew about treating injuries because her mother was the village healer. She found some strong vines and wrapped them around Carlos's ankle to support it. Then she helped him stand up. "Thank you," Carlos said, looking confused. "But why are you helping me? We're supposed to hate each other." "I don't hate you," Maria said. "I don't even know you. Do you hate me?" Carlos thought about this. "No," he admitted. "You seem nice. But if anyone finds out we met, we'll both be in big trouble." They agreed to keep their meeting a secret. Maria helped Carlos walk back to the edge of his village, then hurried back to her boat. As she crossed the river, she couldn't stop thinking about Carlos. He wasn't mean or terrible at all. He was just a normal boy, like the boys in her village. The next day, Maria went back to the river. To her surprise, Carlos was waiting on the other side. He waved at her, and she waved back. They were too far apart to talk, but they had found a way to communicate. Every day after that, Maria and Carlos met at the river. They couldn't cross to each other's side. It was too dangerous, but they created their own language of waves and signals. Maria would act out stories, and Carlos would laugh. Carlos would show her things he had made, and Maria would clap her hands. As the weeks passed, they became more creative. Maria taught Carlos how to make small toy boats from bark and leaves. They would put messages inside the boats and float them across the river to each other. Carlos taught Maria how to whistle like different birds, and they would have whistling conversations across the water. Other children began to notice their daily meetings. At first, Maria and Carlos were worried, but the other children were curious, not angry. Soon, a small group of children from each village was meeting at the river every afternoon. The children from North Bank would stand on their side, and the children from South Shore would stand on theirs. They played games across the water, threw flowers to each other, and slowly began to see that they weren't so different after all. One day, Carlos had an idea. "Why don't we build something together?" he called across the water. "Something that connects us." "Like what?" Maria called back. "A bridge," Carlos said. "Not a real bridge, but a bridge of flowers." The children loved this idea. They gathered all the flowers they could find and made long chains. Then they found the narrowest part of the river and tried to connect their flower chains across the water. It took many tries, but finally, they succeeded. A beautiful bridge of flowers stretched from one bank to the other. The children cheered and danced with joy. For a moment, it felt like the two villages were connected again. But their celebration didn't last long. The adults had discovered what was happening. Angry parents came to the river and pulled their children away. The flower bridge was torn down, and the children were forbidden to go near the river again. Maria was kept inside her house for a week as punishment. Her father was very angry. "Those people killed my brother in the war," he said. "How could you betray us like this. But Maria's grandfather understood. Late one night, he came to her room. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. He whispered. "You're doing what we adults couldn't do. You're building bridges instead of walls." He told Maria a secret. The bridge wasn't destroyed by either village. It was destroyed by the storm that came during the worst night of the war. Both sides blamed each other, but it was just bad luck and bad timing. Maria knew she had to tell Carlos and the other children this truth. But how could she reach them when she wasn't allowed near the river? Then came the day of the great storm. Dark clouds gathered over both villages, and rain began to fall heavily. The river rose higher and higher, threatening to flood both villages. The adults were panicking. They needed to work together to build barriers against the flood. But 20 years of hatred stood between them. Neither village would ask the other for help. Maria couldn't stand it anymore. She ran from her house and down to the river, where the water was rising dangerously. Carlos had the same idea. She saw him on the other side with a group of children from South Shore. "We have to help!" Maria shouted over the storm. The children from both villages began working. They couldn't cross the dangerous river, but they could work on their own sides. They filled bags with sand, built walls of stones, and showed the adults that cooperation was possible. Seeing the children working so hard, some adults began to help too. Then more joined in. Soon, people from both villages were working side by side on their respective banks, fighting against their common enemy, the flood. As they worked, something amazing happened. An old man from South Shore called out to an old woman from North Bank. They had been friends before the war. A mother from North Bank recognized a father from South Shore. They had gone to school together as children. 20 years of silence began to break down. People started talking across the river, first about the flood, then about their memories, then about their hopes for the future. The storm lasted all night, but by morning, both villages were safe. The flood barriers had held, and no one was hurt. As the sun rose, the people of both villages stood on their riverbanks, exhausted but victorious. Maria's father looked across the river and saw Carlos's father. They had been best friends as boys. Slowly, Maria's father raised his hand in greeting. Carlos's father waved back. "Maybe it's time," Maria's father said quietly. "Maybe it's time to build a new bridge." The adults formed committees from both villages to discuss rebuilding the bridge. It would take time, money, and a lot of hard work, but everyone agreed it was worth it. While the adults planned, the children continued to meet at the river. They were no longer forbidden to be friends. Maria and Carlos finally met in person on the day the first foundation stone for the new bridge was laid. "We did it," Carlos said, smiling. "We built a bridge after all." "Not a bridge of stone," Maria said. "A bridge of friendship. And that's even stronger." The new bridge took 2 years to build. Both villages worked together, sharing tools, knowledge, and labor. By the time it was finished, many new friendships had formed. Some young people from the two villages even fell in love and got married. On the day the bridge was opened, there was a big celebration. Maria and Carlos, now 14 years old, were chosen to be the first people to walk across the new bridge. They met in the middle, where a plaque had been placed. It read, "This bridge was built by two villages working as one. May it stand as a reminder that friendship is stronger than fear, and that children can teach adults how to forgive." Maria and Carlos shook hands on the bridge as people from both villages cheered. The Silver River still flowed beneath them, but it no longer divided them. It connected them, just as the bridge connected the two banks. And it all started because two children were brave enough to see enemies as friends and wise enough to know that bridges are better than walls.